right, thank you guys for coming. We're going to be talking about using photography for social change. Rather than me introducing all the panelists, I want each of you to go down the line and tell who you are, but also what you're working on. You're first. Yeah, you're first. Explain what you're working on, because you all have really unique projects that you're doing, and I want to make sure that everybody hears about the great work you're doing.
My name is Draper, and I'm working with the homeless. My project's called Underexposed, and it's been about 5 years that I've been working with them. And basically, I light them as a commercial photographer would light them, and try to make them look as beautiful and aesthetic as I possibly can, which is sort of my job as a commercial photographer when I photograph people, and that's my project.
My name is Michael Brown, and my current project is a trip kayaking the Grand Canyon with two individuals who are blind, one of whom I climbed Everest with in 2001, and since then I've climbed Everest a total of 5 times. But the work that is meaningful for me is doing things that actually create social change. My projects include work with veterans, people with disabilities, but usually in this setting of adventure in the outdoors. So it's all about, I really enjoy hanging from a rope and making images that way. But as long as it has the human spirit in it, then I'm happy with the film. But also different from most of what this conference is about, I'm actually a filmmaker rather than a still photography, although sometimes you get opportunities when you're in the right place with a still camera.
That's amazing. I wish I was in that seat, not going after you. My name's Eric Wolfinger. I am a traveling food photographer. I specialize in cookbooks and food and the storytelling around food. And my practice is generally sort of commercial and assignment based. But when I get a project of like sort of interesting social significance or something speaks to me that isn't commercial in nature, I jump on it. And the most recent one is a project I'm doing with a food writer named Paula Wolfert, who was a legend back in the 60s and 70s, wrote a lot of interesting cookbooks about the cooking of the Mediterranean and of Morocco. And she was just diagnosed with Alzheimer's. And the writer on the story and I, sort of literally the day that we were doing the story, hatched this idea to do a cookbook memoir with her and kind of explore the relationship between food and memory. And get these stories down with essentially like the clock ticking, right? And I think we also want to show somebody sort of living and dealing with Alzheimer's in a really energetic and compassionate kind of way.
My name's Dianne Maroney. I am not a photographer, actually, but I have a project called the Imagine Project. It's over here. It began with a photography, coffee table, storybook, where there's beautiful, soulful photography of each person, and then the stories are told with each sentence begins with the word imagine. And after the book was published a couple years ago, I had to decide what direction to take it in, because there was many, many different kinds of stories in the book. But my true love is working with kids, and so I created a 6-step journal to write your story using the word imagine, and it helps them to kind of celebrate life, figure out what's hard in life, write a story about it, and then write a dream, a new story, and then create the steps to make that dream happen. And then there's a 30-day gratitude journal at the end. And mine is now a nonprofit, and we're working to get it into the hands of every child to capture those in the corner of the classroom that can't be heard, and gives them a voice and a tool for positive change in their life.
So like I said, they're doing amazing work. One of the things I'm curious about is, we all know it, when you work in an environment where you're trying to create social change, it can be really emotionally draining. I mean, how do you get up and attack the day? I mean, how do you deal with that? Because it is draining, because we're dealing with very emotional topics. How do you cope with that and keep pushing forward?
Well, I actually have a master's in mental health, so I have some tools from that. But I would say that it's in some of the stories I hear about kids, it's really challenging to hear them, but at the same time, it's inspiring. So when I walk out of a classroom or a school where I hear, where there's poverty and difficult things that they're dealing with, I just realize that I can't ignore this. I need to continue to give kids a voice. And so then I offset it in my own world with, I don't climb, but hiking and doing things with nature and taking care of myself the best I can. So it's a challenge, it definitely is.
One thing I noticed in listening to like everybody's project currently is, when you're facing, challenge, like when you're working with other people who have challenges, you can go the route where you photograph their despair and their pain, but it seems like every single one of the people around me is, really trying to like show like the human spirit and really sort of promote a positive, dignified message. And I think that's, if I'm photographing something that's difficult, I think that's what I try to remember and strive for.
Yeah, and I would echo what Eric just said, is that if you're telling a story that is really hard and really depressing, someone who's really suffering and going through unbelievable hardship, you really, as a storyteller, you don't necessarily want to share something super depressing. You want to give them a positive message, or give the audience a positive message at the end after you've sort of explained what the problem is. And then, for me, when I'm going back into work again, I just know that at the end of this process, at the end of the film, the audience is going to feel uplifted by this story. So it helps keep me going back in there.
I think what Eric said also is really, really important, is that to promote hope and not promote hopelessness. Because I think that if we continue to promote hope, it also engages other people and makes them also hopeful, and it makes it so we don't just throw up our hands and give up. I think if we photograph and constantly promote hopelessness and don't give at least our viewers and the people we're working for and our subjects, if we don't give them any hope at all, or any of our viewers hope, then I think a lot of people times they sort of abandon the cause. But to me, it's a fine balance between sort of like a joy and ache type of thing, where there's a lot of ache, and you go out and you feel for some of these people that we work with, and you feel bad for them, and your heart definitely just aches. But there are moments of joy, and I think that those moments really help offset any of the ache that you feel and you go through. And I think that really makes it worth it. It keeps at least me, and I'm sure most everybody else, going.
So a tough question, at least it's the number one question I get whenever I talk about doing this sort of work, is a friend of mine once told me, you can't feed the world if you don't feed yourself. So how do you balance the world of saving the world or inspiring others and paying the bills and keeping family life, and because it's a struggle, and I know it's something that doesn't get talked about a lot, because you do have to keep a roof over your head and keep we all have different responsibilities. How do you balance that out? Because I know it's a struggle for anybody who does this sort of work. It's not like nobody gets rich doing this.
No, I'd have to say photographing the homeless doesn't pay anything. I'll tell you right now. In fact, I'm mostly out money like all the time for my project. And I think that I do take on commercial clients and work with those that do have money, and that helps me maintain and pay my bills and do some other good things. And I know that a lot of people have the stuff they do for work and the stuff they do for money, and that's not always very fulfilling. So a lot of people have like another thing they do on the side and that doesn't make any money. So I think there's a nice balance between working and paying your bills and having that, but also having things that really fulfill you and just make life worthwhile.
Yeah, it's been a very similar path for me, is you're always looking for a way to make it work. And if there can be a little bit of money in a project, that's great. If it's just purely passion, that's going to work as well. Not quite as smooth, but then of course there are the commercial projects that we all do. Or, for me it was climbing Mount Everest. I just charge a lot for that.
I mean, I consider my more commercial work pretty fulfilling and great in and of itself, and I'm very thankful to be doing what I'm doing. It's these projects where I feel like I either have something to say or something to contribute to a cause in some way that fulfills another part of me. And I think I know a lot of photographers who really want to do good with their camera, but it's kind of hard to figure out how. We're you know, our you know, you can say, oh, you know, like we're bearing witness, or you know, we're raising awareness, but sometimes it's hard to really sense like what good you're actually doing with the camera. And I mean, I don't have an answer for that, but I do know there's definitely a hunger out there to find ways to do good with your camera.
Well, I used Kickstarter to fund my book, and it was successful, and so that was really helpful. I also have a husband that, you know, what can I say? I have a husband that helps a lot. And I did quit my other job so that I could focus on this, and I started a nonprofit with hopes that money would come in to help support what I do.
Oh yeah, Kickstarter, the cookbook that I mentioned, we were psyched about the idea. We have tons of connections in the publishing world. We put together a proposal. Every publisher we talked to said, that's a great idea, applause, applause, but it's not going to sell. So
Really?
we turned to our community. And I mean, mostly on the force of Paula's reputation, but you know, I would like to think a little bit based on the photography. We raised 90 grand.
Nice.
And funded the entire project. So you know, like turning to your community as a way.
It's a great thing. It's a lot of work, but it's an amazing thing to do. It's very helpful.
Yeah, I did a film with young adult cancer survivors, same thing. We used Kickstarter to fund the film, and it's an incredible platform to raise money.
Have you kickstarted yet?
I have not kickstarted.
You got to work on it. You got to talk to these guys afterwards.
Everything's come out of my pocket so far, so I've been really blessed. But no, I'd probably consider kickstarting in the future.
Eric, you said something that teed up the next question perfectly. What do you say to someone like these people here in the audience or that are watching later on the live stream that are out there saying, I want to do something more, you know, and maybe I'm a college student, maybe I'm a mom, a dad. What would you guys give advice to someone who says, I want to help change the world, I want to do good, but I don't even know where to start? What advice would you give? Because I know there's plenty of people watching this that are thinking, yeah, I would love to do more in the world, but what would advice to get started?
Well, I'll answer that. It was really difficult after I published the book to decide what direction to take it in. And I listened to a lot of people, oh, you should do this, oh, you should do this, you should do this. And finally, when I decided that I really have a love for children, my heart just opened up. So you find what your passion is, and you find where does your heart light up, and then you fight the people that say you can't, and you fight through it, and you just do it. You do it. You push through every person that doubts you. You push through your doubt that you have in your own heart, and you just keep pushing. And then pretty soon it's like, it's something. Pretty soon you're sitting on the PIX stage and talking about your project. So it's cool.
And I think if you're just starting out and trying to break into something where you're doing meaningful work, it's you align yourself with people that are already on that path. Because for most causes and most things that we can become passionate about, there's already somebody working in that area. And it's a matter of just offering to help, because especially in these areas where there's not a lot of money available, people are desperate for somebody to help them out, and just whatever it takes, hold the lights, make it happen, make phone calls.
You know, I think it also has to do with what your feelings are as an individual, what your past experiences are. I think that if you are feeling like sort of Dianne said, if you're feeling very, very inspired, or you have really strong feelings about something, then that's something you should probably be going into and thinking about. If you have really strong, passionate opinions about something, head in that direction, because that's going to transmit into your work, and then your work is going to share those feelings with other people, and then that is going to motivate people to change and do something different, right? It's going to come from you. If you're not passionate about it and you don't even care, then nobody's going to care about it either. It has to start with you. And I also think that sometimes you pick the idea that you're against. So I am very pro-air, pro-clean air, and I really think I'm very passionate about that. But the other side of that are coal miners and people that live back in the Midwest and that rely on coal mining, and that's their entire existence. They've done so for generations. So if you think about it, there's a human element to shutting coal mines down and protecting and making clean air for everybody. So while I am very pro-air, pro-clean air, I also am very pro-human. And so I would want to go do a project with the coal mining families back there in the Appalachian Mountains and around the area just to show people that there's a human element to this that's not to be missed. So there's a lot of different ways you can brainstorm and think about things you'd like to do in effect, but it sort of starts with your own personal feelings on stuff.
Eric, anything?
I mean, everybody has really answered the question quite well. I mean, I think one thing that I like see from all of you here, and I've heard like over and over again at the conference, is, you know, if you want to like make your work meaningful, and if you're just starting out, pick something that you're really passionate about, right? And I think what's cool here is that everybody sitting here has like picked what they're passionate about. They're going for it, and you know, it's not immediately obvious that a guy who climbs Mount Everest is going to like work for some kind of social change, or a food photographer, much less. But you know, if you're aware and you have that in your head, I want to do something. Keep that in your mind, and stay alive to the opportunities and things that come across your field of vision. And then when you see something, go for it.
So one of the things I always advocate for is to shine a light on what work other people are doing. And I'm just curious if you guys have seen any project recently, especially in the social good space, that you went, oh, I love that, or something you want to shine a light on. Well, we've got the stage to say, I saw this project, I think it's a great one. Is there anything you've seen lately?
I just saw and this isn't a photography project, but it's something that is very impactful to me, and I think it is starting to get a lot of traction. It's called globalcitizen.org, and what they do is they have a bunch of celebrities and people that go and donate their time and to have concerts and things, and anybody who wants to attend the concert has to do acts of service for other people. You can't get into these concerts by paying money. Money's off the table. You've got to go do an act of service. You've got to go clean a park. You've got to go do something that is real in person and that's serving and sacrificing for another human being. And I think that currency, the currency of service and sacrifice, is actually a phenomenal idea. And I would love it if there would be a way where a photography project could work like that. It's just phenomenal.
Yeah, and I think that PIX has done a great job of selecting people to come to the conference, because even if I was back in my hotel room, I had the live feed on, and I was watching Aaron do his presentation, and it's like, I mean, it's amazing stuff. If you see his images, there's so much, human heart and soul in them. And so just looking at those, Alexandria Bombach is going to be here tomorrow, or maybe later today. I apologize for giving the wrong time, but she's working in Afghanistan and doing amazing things. So it's those are the kinds of projects I've been seeing, and this gathering is a chance to kind of interact with people, which is a huge privilege. It's really a great event for that.
Either of you guys? Nothing?
You know, I've been so immersed that the Imagine Project.
There you go.
I love what you said, Aaron, about service. I mean, I think that's very cool, but I'm sorry, I try, but I can't.
And if you missed the Global Citizens concert, I mean, we're not talking like low-level stuff. Beyonce opened it up, Eddie Vedder. It was in Central Park, and it's all online for free, by the way. T-Mobile sponsored it, and I love the fact that you had to volunteer to get a ticket, which was great.
I was just reflecting on a conversation I had with a friend of mine who shoots weddings, and he's going to go shoot a wedding in India, and while he was making his travel arrangements, he found like some organization that he sort of could partner with and take photos for their website in Nepal.
That's awesome.
So he's gonna, take the money he earned from his wedding or part of it, fly to Nepal, and spend like 3 weeks there, like shooting their thing. So the wedding photographer is gonna do that. So no matter what you do, you could you can make it happen if you want to.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, I think people too often get hung up in you've got to be hiking Everest or shooting beautiful food photography, but it can be down the street. It
That's
can be
right.
Your library, your church, your school. There's social goods
doesn't always have to be in an exotic place.
Right. Everybody thinks it's global when it can be local too. People forget about that.
Yeah, I think the greatest acts of heroism are the little things that people can do.
Yeah.
Just like helping somebody out when they drop something or whatever. Just a little thing is going to count for a lot more in the long run.
I think actually local acts would actually improve everything globally, right? You don't need to be working globally to improve things globally. Work locally. Everybody working locally will improve everything globally.
Beautiful.
Amen to that.
How about you, Cece? What are you doing? Maybe you want to say what you're doing.
Oh, I'm not doing anything on this level. No, I mean, I do a lot of work in I'm on this board of the Hockey Foundation, where they're, through teamwork and leadership, they're teaching kids in India how to play hockey. And before joining the board, I didn't realize you could skate in India. I've never been. I didn't realize. Oh, you can. There's plenty of mountains there. The Himalayas are right there. But I didn't realize that. And through teaching these kids the game of hockey, they're learning leadership skills and teamwork skills. And we're hoping next year to do a Kickstarter where we're hoping to hold the world's highest ever game of hockey. Build a rink and have a game of hockey at, 17,000 feet or something crazy. It'll be a lot of fun.
You're definitely from New Hampshire.
Yeah, I am from New Hampshire. Yeah.
Yes, and I'd love to go with you.
All right. Well, I'm going to call you. I got your email now. I just want to know we are out of time, and we nailed it right on time. So thank you guys for everything.
Thank you very
And
much.
keep up the
Thanks
great
everybody
work.
for coming.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, y'all. Thank you.
All right. We're done.